The regular meeting of the Tiverton Town Council, Monday, February 10th, 2020. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Perry.
Present.
Councilor Clark.
Present.
Councilor DiMederos. Present. Councilor Hilton.
Present.
Councilor Cook. Present. Councilor Driggs.
Present.
Councilor Edwards is absent, and Administrator Reitzma will not be here this evening.
The consent agenda. Item A, approval of Town Council minutes, January 27, 2020, regular meeting, and January 27, 2020, executive session. Item B, acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards and commissions, 1 set from the Open Space and Land Preservation Commission, and 3 sets from the Planning Board. Item C, acknowledge receipt of reports. Item D, acknowledge receipt of correspondence. Number 1, the Town of Hopkinton, a resolution in support of fully funded E911 statewide and municipal services. And number 2, Lynn Radish's, the Rhode Island Ethics Commission Staff Attorney Education Coordinator regarding ethics training. Item number 3, RIDEM notification to abutters of a site investigation at 691 Brayton Road. And item E, Susan Gill, Administrative Officer, report of activities. Would any council member like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Can I ask, potentially, I just had a question on 4E, which was the planning board. It was just one item on there. Is that appropriate at this point to ask somebody a question about it? That's the only reason I'd want to remove it.
Just remove it.
Just remove it, and then you could ask a question if there's
Okay.
someone here to
All right.
answer it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of DE. 4E.
Second.
All in favor?
It's 3E, actually.
Counselor Driggs?
It's 3E.
So I just had a question, I guess, for Susan Gill, if she's here. It referenced what's going on with the Bill Sales Industrial Park, and I just wasn't sure what the issue was. I remember he was allowed to go there.
What page?
I'm sorry, page 4, bottom of page 4. And I, it looks like a building or something that he wants to build that's,
Yeah, Susan Gill. I guess Bill Sales, they came to us for a concept plan for the, I guess, the wood, whatever, the wood thing. So the concept plan, and they, at that, was discussed, and we recommended that they submit a major land development project, and they did an environmental review statement, and we haven't received anything to date so far. So we're just waiting on a submission packet for a master plan from them.
okay.
That's where it
It just
stands.
seems like a long time since they were allowed to go in there. and
Well,
I-
we heard them, they know what their next step is, they just
Yeah.
haven't submitted anything, so
Okay.
that's all.
Okay. I
Okay?
just, thank you.
Sure.
Is there a motion then to accept?
It's 3E, I think. No. It's
Item E?
E. Item E.
Yes.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor? The open public forum, we have 3 sign-ups tonight. The first is Renee Jones regarding the recycling center. Good evening, Renee.
Renee Jones, 161 Highland Road, and this is not a big deal. I'm sorry, but after I left the meeting the last town council meeting, I started thinking about putting the recycling center in the industrial park, and I just, was concerned about maybe having some unintended consequences with that. And by that I meant, I remembered when Matt Wojak, or way back when, there were 2 companies that were trying to bring in garbage to energy plants. And I just felt like I was really concerned that if we opened the door a crack with this recycling center, you're waving your head no, but I'm just, I don't want to, it's my conscience, I'm just saying it out loud. I don't want to say that I didn't bring something up, I waited to the last minute here. So I'm just concerned that I don't want to open that door and allow companies that would potentially be more harmful to our business park, such as waste things, and that's my biggest concern. And it's just one of those things, when you look down the pike, you never know what's going to be coming in. And I also was a little concerned about, I know the plans looked really good, but just what kind of impact it's going to have on some of the other businesses that may or may not be coming in. If we're looking at a tech business park versus an industrial park, I think there's different things. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
William McLaughlin, Town Building Maintenance.
William McLaughlin, Tiverton. I wanted to bring up some issues tonight, so when I get on the agenda for the next meeting, I would hope this council is well prepared to address them. It's been brought to my attention that several of the buildings owned by this town are in dire need of repair and maintenance. Like the library, I personally went up and inspected the library, and it has a lot of issues that, if not addressed in a very short time, will become major issues and become costly repairs which could be avoided. The senior center the roof has been leaking for a long time. It's been in the budget apparently for a while, yet no bids have gone out. Much in the fashion of the roof of this building, went on for years and became a more expensive project than it should have been if it was properly addressed. There's no need for this. And that brings me to my next issue, that one of this council's jobs is to oversee the activities of the various boards and committees to make sure their goals and objectives are focused in the best interests of the town residents, businesses, and the town in general. You can't have people chairing these boards and committees implementing their own vision of restrictions for businesses and other things going on. They need to pay attention to things like the building maintenance. A lot of the things go on and become detrimental to businesses in this town, which is the reason we have the worst reputation for business friendly in Rhode Island. While everybody's grateful to the people who donate their time and effort to these various boards and committees, they cannot be allowed to operate autonomously in the way that they are now. And I know the members of this council have gotten directly involved with various boards and committees for high-profile things in the past, but you all are responsible to make sure that these boards and committees are operating efficiently and on task in the best interest of the town, and for to provide the best outcomes for the residents and businesses in every aspect. I will be looking for answers, as will every other resident, as how you intend to address these issues at the next council meeting. Thank you.
And finally, Barbara Pelletier, the dog park.
Hi, Barbara Pelletier. I'm, I guess, co-chair of the Dog Park Committee, which we voted on for sometime last summer, and established a fund. And the question was where to put it. And it has come to the town has sort of given us permission for land that is adjoining to the library and in back of the fire station. Now, I haven't, or nobody seems to have heard officially whether or not that has been approved, and will we get an official letter by the town? Because if we're going to raise funds, I think we should put that information in the fundraising letter. And it's since the projected groundbreaking was sometime in April at the one-year anniversary of the former dog officer Ray Jones's passing, it would be only appropriate to start getting funds together. And we do have about $3,000, and the estimated cost for the fencing is about $15,000. And the upkeep, having a professional pick up the dog, the stations, is about $3,000, which I think a committee can handle raising funds. So it's not an outlandish amount of cost to the town. And I just wanted to know whom will we be hearing from officially? And also, does that mean we have to advertise so that neighbors, that we don't have to do that? You don't think?
Barbara, I might
town
suggest,
administrator.
that you actually put this on as an agenda item, because I think there are probably some questions that need to be answered by our town administrator and possibly by our solicitor, and so
Well, I have asked the town administrator, and then I thought, well, you're the ultimate boss, so I might as well go to you, because I don't have any answers.
Okay, so,
We'll look into
we'll look into it, but I think maybe the best thing to do is to actually put this, for you to put an
All right.
agenda request on.
Okay.
So that we can, in this session, we can't really discuss it, but it sounds like there are some issues that need to get resolved, and if you put it on as an agenda request, we can do that and try and get the answers for you so you can keep moving forward.
Right. And is it okay to have a collection jar at the town hall? Because the last time I had the itsy bitsy art show thing, it ended in somebody wanting to put pictures of guns on the wall. And if this is for a dog park, and maybe somebody would want a lap pool for the goldfish, I don't know.
I think this is, that's true. I think this is why it'd be good for that to go on the agenda, because those are the
All right.
kinds of questions our
All the
solicitor
ans-
can
yeah, all right.
answer for you. So I'm going to encourage that you do that for the next meeting, and we'll try and get as many issues resolved as we can.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Barbara, who's your co-chairman? Besides, it's you and who? David Paul, right? Okay.
That pool for goldfish.
Okay, the council sitting as a Board of Licensing. Bill Botello, the Cheese Wheel Village Market at 3838 Main Road, request approval of victualling license. Is Mr. Botello here?
No.
No? Okay. Madam Clerk, then, will ask you if all of the paperwork is in order. It seems to be.
I did check with the building official on the septic as well. It's a whole new system going in. He won't be receiving the license till the building official gives me the okay on this. Everything else is in order.
And is the page attached to this for, is the page attached to this for us, or is this for the building official? Because this looks like a, no, this looks like architect's drawings of an expansion, which is not,
I think the building official told me that's what it is now.
I don't think so, no.
No.
No, he's before the planning board on that expansion.
Okay, so this is attached to us, but not for our approval. We have no authority to approve that last page. That needs building.
You're just
approval.
approving the license.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was clear that we weren't approving
Whatever
the
that is.
expansion on the last page.
So do we have to wait till the building, the septic comes through to approve
The
the
septic's already
license?
been approved.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
as Madam Clerk says, the license will be issued once that's,
Once the building official
Official.
tells me it's okay for this license. He's putting a whole new system in, apparently something to do with it.
This license.
So do we need to wait to approve it?
That has nothing to
Okay.
do
No.
with this
Okay.
license.
Okay, all right.
That has nothing to do with this license. So we can give the license.
Yes.
Regardless of-
Tells me it's okay.
Why?
Certificate of occupancy, I think he probably hasn't got a certificate of occupancy yet,
Okay,
for the new edition.
but, okay. That has nothing to do with the license, does it?
Not necessarily, no.
No, that has nothing.
He's selling stuff now.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with this license itself. We should be able to grant this. We should be able to grant this license without any of that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, okay. I move we grant the license.
Second.
any other questions or comments? All in favor? Okay. Appointments and resignations. It's time to appoint our tree warden as required by Rhode Island state law. We have 2 applicants this year, Frankie Ramos from Manchester's Tree and Landscaping, and Jonathan Hathaway of JDH Landscaping and Tree Service. Are either of the applicants here?
Frankie is.
Frankie is.
Oh, Frankie's over there. Would you like to come up? If that's okay. You're welcome to sit if you're more
sit.
comfortable.
Oh,
This one right up here.
Yes,
This
Frankie.
is Mr. Ramos.
So, Mr. Ramos, if you just want to tell us a little bit about your interest in taking this on. I believe that you have done this for us before as part of Manchester's, where John Manchester's been the tree warden. So if you just want to tell us a little bit about your interest and why you'd like to continue.
Yes, I know John Manchester has been the tree warden for Tiverton for 30 some, I think 32, he said. And, you know, he's getting old, and he asked me if I wanted to take his position because, you know, I've been doing the work for the town for the last more than 15 years, and I know all the ins and outs, and I'm a resident of Tiverton. Been living in Tiverton for more than 15 years. If it's possible, I would like to, you know, be part of the town, and any needs for the town, I'll be available.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Ramos? No, in that case, thank you.
I just have one question. Frankie, I think you indicated that as you've worked with John Manchester for 15-plus years.
Actually, I worked 19 years.
19 years, okay.
And I took over the business in
Right.
2016.
Right. So you're very familiar with the kind of work he had to do as the tree warden
Yes,
and what?
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
quick question. Frankie, I see that you are a licensed arborist.
Yes.
Is that correct? And you reference a number here, but I guess this might be more for whoever put this package together. I don't see a copy of the license in here. Do we have a copy? I mean, I'm not doubting it, but I just think for the paperwork to be complete that there should be a copy here.
Okay, I'll have the license with me right now. I don't know if I can come back another day and.
I
No,
just want
just
to get it into the record. So I don't need to see it personally, but I want to make sure it's part of the package.
Okay.
So that's probably something you can handle with
Nancy.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the other applicant, Mr. Hathaway, is not here. Do you think you might be able to get in touch with him and see if he'd be willing to come for an interview? For the next meeting?
Yes.
Is that amenable to the council? Did he know that we would be interviewing candidates tonight, do you think?
I'm not sure, because the application is a bit confusing. It says
Okay.
you send it to the administrator, but then I
Okay.
was getting it. Mr. Ramos, I happen to have talked to a couple of times, because he came in and I made a point of telling him. I'm not
Okay.
sure that Mr. Hathaway was contacted.
So
So-
can we just give Mr.
Yes.
Hathaway the courtesy of knowing that if he could come in and talk to us before we make our decision, that would be appreciated?
Yeah, because we were supposed to do it in January, so.
All right.
I don't have a problem with that, but I just don't want it to be a long, drawn-out process, because you need to have someone that takes care of problems with trees, and it's a kind of a bad, you never know what's going to be windy, and then you don't have anyone to call.
Right. So if he could come for the next meeting, that would be appreciated.
So we'll appoint at the next meeting.
Is Mr. Manchester still on board until this takes effect?
He quit.
He quit, okay.
We accepted his resignation, too.
I don't think so. But I
All right, so yeah, okay.
So he'd stay until we...
okay.
Okay.
Tell Mr. Ramos.
Item B, for the Budget Committee, we acknowledge the resignation of Alexander Cody as of February 3rd, 2020. Do I have a motion to accept Mr. Cody's resignation?
I make a motion to accept Alex's resignation from the
Second.
Budget Committee as of February 3rd and thank him for his many, many years of service. It's a very tough job to be on the Budget Committee, and Alex has dedicated a lot of time and effort to that, so I want to thank him.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. Madam Clerk, just a question. Will we be having on our next meeting a discussion of the next highest vote getter who would be taking the place of Mr. Cody?
Hopefully, I might have to talk to the solicitor on that. I have contacted two, we're in the write-in votes. I have contacted two that had
Donald Duck and
multiple
alcoholics.
write-in votes, and they both declined.
Okay.
So I've got an awful lot of people that got one write-in vote.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm going to have to talk to the
It really is
solicitor on
Donald Duck
that.
and Mickey Mouse.
But I'm trying, we're not giving up on them.
Okay.
And if we exhaust all of that, then the council
You
appoints.
couldn't, I've got about 30 of them with.
Oh, you
one.
really do? Okay, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
Including Donald Duck.
I know, I know. Donald will say that.
Okay. We don't have any bids or requests for proposals tonight, so moving on to general business. Item A, the Budget Committee Chair Jay Edwards requests vote for approval of funding for secretary for the Budget Committee for fiscal year 2021 from the council contingency for $1,600. I know that Mr. Edwards is not here tonight because
Deb is.
he's... I
Deb
don't-
is the vice chair.
But I think is the vice chair here behind the post back there, maybe?
Yeah, she is, yeah.
And maybe she would be willing to come up?
She-
No? Or not?
Yeah, she will, but I,
There is an explanation from Mr. Edwards, and I'm just going to read this out loud quickly. Members of the Tiverton Town Council, we have a situation within the Tiverton Budget Committee which I don't believe has existed in the recent past. At the present time, we have no secretary from among our members. A secretary is required for taking notes at our meetings and producing an accurate written record for approval and final posting on the state website. At our last meeting, 2 members were nominated for secretary but declined the position. Upon being asked if anyone cared to volunteer, all present declined. The general reason given was that taking notes was too distracting for the member and intended to interfere with the active participation in discussions and listening to presentations, as well as reading and following along in documents. The town clerk has said she believes she can procure a secretary from within her office to perform this important and necessary task. I am therefore requesting an increase in the Budget Committee stipend, item 62108045, in the amount of $1,600 to cover the additional expense that will accrue if this request is approved. The town clerk believes that the cost per meeting would be about $100 for each 3.5-hour meeting. In the past years, we've averaged 16 meetings. The Budget Committee has voted to approve the submission of this request for consideration by the town council. So, I think,
I have a question, Madam President. I just remember being on the Budget Committee with you, and when I was, I think one of the ways we had a docket secretary, as I recall, but then we also had funds allotted to have the meetings videoed. Is that
The
no
meetings,
longer?
we still have that. We have the meetings, Andrew comes and does videotape the meetings, but we still have to do a written document. It has to be posted on the Secretary of State website, so we had no volunteers. It's a big job, and it's not just trying to get everything correct and votes correct. You're trying to participate in the conversation and document all of that.
No, I understand the issue, yeah.
So it is, I did it for 3 years. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work to type it all after that and post it. And so we really didn't have volunteers. We have people on the committee who have very busy work lives and social, personal lives, and we just didn't have someone. So we're asking, pleading.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow for them to have a secretary for their meetings for the year 2021, and to be paid out of the council contingency fund for $1,600, funding a secretary for the budget committee.
Second.
Any other discussion? Mr. Clark?
Well, I'm a little concerned that this might set a precedent for other committees, and then everybody's going to start asking for secretaries. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, the amount of minutes that you have to take in budget committees is not trivial, I know. So I'm concerned about it setting a precedent, number one. Number two, if you are recording it, you know, you wouldn't have to you don't have to be taking the minutes during the meeting. You could take the minutes, you know, after the meeting at your convenience, if you can find the time outside the meeting. So, a couple of concerns. I don't know if, how the other people feel, but those are just my reactions to what you're asking for here.
So of the elected boards, the council has someone recording for them. The school committee has someone recording for them. The budget committee has never had someone record, so it's always been someone, a member of the committee. I can't talk about the other commissions. I don't know, you know, what their minutes are like and who does them.
I will say that, that I think one of the challenges for the Budget Committee, again, they are an elected body, unlike most of the other volunteer boards and commissions, but it's also an 11-member committee. So that's 11 people who are participating that you have to keep track of. And they also take an extraordinary number of votes, because they, at the end of the day, they virtually vote on almost every line item in the budget. So just, you know, keeping track of the accuracy of the votes and of the 11 members who voted for and against on each one is a project in and of itself. So I personally think that that you're really asking somebody who's trying to participate in the discussion and be a voting member and keep track of all of that at the same time is a pretty Herculean task. So I would be in support of this. Any other comments?
My comment is, I have always felt that they should have a secretary because it's so difficult. I've been on the budget committee, I never understood it. It is an elected position. It's dealing with the budget, and to have someone, I never volunteered for it because I don't know how I was supposed to pay attention, all these votes going on, trying to get it all straight. I just thought you need to participate. It's very difficult, so that's why I'm okay with this.
And you did voice that the years you were on the
I
committee.
did, yeah.
Any other comments? There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay.
And we thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Deb.
Item B, Town Administrator requests to schedule public hearing or workshop on the draft design study for the Mount Hope Bay Greenway project, followed by possible action to submit comments on the same and/or request that the project be re-included in the State Transportation Improvement Plan, which is the TIP program. As you know, Jan is not here this evening, but he did send a little note on this. I am fairly comfortable about setting the public hearing. My question is, in terms of the date of this, when are the comments due back for the draft design study? Does anybody know?
No. It doesn't say.
It doesn't say, so that's a little bit the problem with, if we're going to set this public hearing, when does it need to happen?
Well, I would assume in 2 weeks would be fine, or he would have put that somewhere. I know I might be wrong to assume that, but...
Is there anybody here from Bike Tiverton? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh,
Do you happen to know when these comments are due?
Excuse me. I'm Carolyn Wyman, 26 Ronnie Street, Bike Tiverton. We met with VHB Engineering on the 23rd of January. They have worked for 2 years to do a feasibility study of this. And since we don't have any magical benefactors, we need to have it put on the TIP application. The state would have to finance it. The time constraint is more for VHB. They had a 2-year contract, which ends in April. So it has, we discussed this at the meeting. It is much better to have the engineers that walked the area and saw the erosion problems and the various issues to speak to it, so that the town council will have a better idea of whether they're supporting it or not. But they don't get paid after the 1st of April. So that was the time constraint. The action for the TIP, I believe, takes place later on, and it doesn't get filed until August, but I'm not 100% on that one.
So it sounds like we should at least schedule the public hearing sooner rather than later so that we can get whatever comments come out of that to VHB before they conclude their work with the state.
Can we just put it on the next meeting?
How about you give the clerk the authority to set a public meeting when she finds the date that the,
Okay.
the date,
That would be a good idea. Would
That's my
anyone-
motion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. Town solicitor, approval and acceptance of parcel 1, plat 221, lot 103, which is the driveway entrance to Ranger School on the easterly side of North Brayton Road as described in minor subdivision final plan schoolhouse lots dated February 13, 2018, subject to a 40-foot wide access easement for Stonebridge Fire District.
So this is more of a housekeeping issue that was brought to my attention by the administrative officer. This subdivision, as you just read, was approved, I think, back in 2018. Part of that subdivision approval anticipated that the town would accept parcel 1, which is listed in the plan here. And we just need to formally do that, so it becomes town property. I believe it's already been taken care of as far as the deeds. I think that the subdivision has already been platted and mapped, and the Mylar has been filed, but we've just never formally accepted that lot. They call it Lot 1, but it's really, it looks like a driveway.
really the driveway.
It's really a driveway.
Wasn't there a problem with, I remember this subject where we had a lot of neighbors here. Is that this subject?
This is the 3
Right.
Stonebridge lots.
Right.
Parcel here is just a driveway up to Ranger
And there was
School,
neighbors that
so
were
they can get
cons-
back to.
Right, and there were neighbors that were concerned with drainage and many other things, and I'm not quite sure we actually said yes to this.
Well, the subdivision's been
We
approved.
did.
All right, because there must have been another meeting then, because it was a big deal at the time. And
There was
and
something
we
about
tabled
open
it.
space and all that.
Yeah,
but
we
did-
tabled
did
it, and we
vote
were
on it.
looking, okay.
We did vote on it.
Okay.
So this is
But-
just housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Of something that's
But I
already
remember
been
this
agreed
was,
upon.
do you remember what I'm talking about?
Neighborhood was concerned
Right.
with drainage.
Right.
and
Yep.
it was-
Right.
That's why,
And then
Okay.
they all met and came back, said there was no problem.
Okay, I don't remember that part.
This is
Maybe
just
I-
the final step.
Okay.
This was just an empty, open item that had not been
Okay.
taken care of when the subdivision was approved. The town normally has to accept or take possession. This was a part of lot, this parcel used to be part of the adjoining lot. We're just accepting parcel 1 as indicated on the plan. So just we need formal minutes to show that case it becomes a title issue in the future.
But because there is some history to this, is there anyone from the public who
Yeah.
wishes to speak on this, who's here about this little
It was-
driveway? Nope, okay. In that case, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve and accept parcel 1, plot 221, lot 103, driveway entrance to Ranger School on the easterly side of North Brayton as described in the minor subdivision final plan schoolhouse lots dated February 13, 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Okay. Town Administrator, report from Police and Fire Department on implementation of public safety protocol at Twin River Tiverton Casino and associated activity by both departments during the period September through December 2019. I do see Chief Jones in the back of the room.
And Twin Rivers is here.
And representatives from Twin River are here. I don't know if the fire chief is here, but Chief, could you come up and, I'm not, in the absence of Jan, if you wouldn't mind taking us through this as best you could?
Of course. Good evening. So this report, just as a matter of correction as well, this report reflects the activity of public safety, police, and fire from July 1st of 2019 to December 31st of 2019, so the last 6 months of the year. So as you can see, we start off with the police department, and we went for 45 arrests, 14 motor vehicle accidents, 102 incidents, and 320 calls for service. So for a total of 481 actual calls involving your police department. And then the fire department went to 144 calls for service, and that is broken down into 112 EMS calls and 32 fire calls. And how that also is the subcategories of those EMS calls, 39 required transport and 79 were treated by the on-duty fire department personnel. And just as a matter of, some housekeeping issues, we continue to maintain good communications with Twin River all the time. I know there was a radio issue that was on the agenda that the council addressed. We're continuing to work with that. All the site work was completed and done by DPW. It's now, we're working with the state and the town's radio vendor to do the final tweaking so we can get the radio problem resolved. We're also continuing to work with security on continued training for, heaven forbid, an event that might happen at the casino that might require massive police and fire response. So the communications are excellent. We continue to work. As I stand here tonight, there are no major problems with any security issue that I see with Twin River Casino.
Is EMS emergency,
Medical
Medical
service.
service.
so like,
The ambulance.
Ambulance.
it's all rescue?
Yeah.
Does this
Yes,
tie
no.
into gambling issues?
No.
No. We like our acronyms. So it just has anything and everything to do with a person not feeling well, a person who might have fallen, a person who has any sort of medical event.
So Chief, in terms of the impact on your department, obviously it's an increase. Are you comfortable that we are able to absorb the increase without too much stress on the team?
The nice part about what we have with the relationship with Twin River too is the flexibility of the details. So as per the public safety host agreement, we have one police officer, one firefighter there 24 hours a day, which we do. But on certain times that we might see an increase over the holidays, if there's a major sporting event, if there's something that we know that we're going to see an increase in patronage at the casino has and worked with us to add additional police officers at their expense, so we can handle that load.
And in terms of details, is there trouble filling the details, or are the, or?
The nice part about it is you have your full-timers and
Yeah.
then the approval of the reserve officer force.
Yeah.
So we have half a dozen reserve officers, and that's really helped us out in being able to fill those details.
Okay.
Twin Rivers, one
Representatives from Twin Rivers, is there anything you want to add?
If anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, but no, we'd just like to thank Chief Jones and Chief Morrow. They've been excellent to work with.
Council members, questions?
No?
Anybody else?
Thank you for
Thank you.
remembering
Thank you,
this.
Chief.
Thank you for coming, in case we had questions.
Mark, we've missed you for a while, that's why.
Yeah. We're wondering where you've been.
It's probably a good sign.
On to item 12, other items and announcements, Town Administrator update on progress of the proposed recycling center. Obviously, the Town Administrator is not here. I do see DPW Director Rogers at the back of the room, so maybe if there is an update, Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers.
I know.
I know.
Good evening. Since the hearing, well, the meeting where Pa presented, I believe was on the 27th, they've been working on the revised layout based on comments received that day. Also, they're analyzing the limits of disturbance necessary for the stormwater permitting. And they're trying to keep that disturbance under 5 acres because the length of time for review by DEM and the permitting process is longer. The site itself, of course, is under 5 acres, but when you add in the road, that makes it, excuse me, possibly over 5. So they're analyzing that to see what you have to clear for both the road and the site, trying to keep it under 5 acres. Excuse me again. And also coordinating with Depreet Engineering. Depreet is the one who did the permitting and layout for the industrial park quite a while ago. And at this point, Depreet might be used for survey layout as needed by the town for things the town might be doing themselves. Also, they would be available to provide landscape architecture for the simple landscaping if desired around the recycle center. And again, because they did the original layout, they might help with the stormwater design and permitting. And the last thing they're working on right now is an updated engineering fee, which should be available this week. And that's mostly, they're waiting for the stormwater permitting estimates and Depreet's costs.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, have you any items?
No.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Town Solicitor Marcello, Katz versus Town of Tiverton, APRA complaint.
Just a follow-up from our last meeting. I don't think we mentioned this at the last meeting. There was another complaint. This is an ongoing complaint that was filed after our last meeting, and it's under review, and Mr. Katz was kind enough to give me an extension to answer the formal complaint, which I think is due on Monday, so we're working on that. So I'll be in contact with the council and the clerk regarding our formal response.
Is that this that was passed out?
Correct, yes.
Town councilors?
I do have something.
Okay, so I have to interject here. I guess, so under the open meeting law, there's been a decision that came out of actually Woonsocket that basically said they have a thing on their agenda called Council Good and Welfare, where the council uses the opportunity to make announcements and maybe comment on general things that are on the agenda, that, you know, maybe happening within the town. And the Attorney General has issued an advisory opinion saying that you need to be able to put that on the agenda. So if you know you're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, it needs to be on the agenda. You can't have an open town council remark without any specific item there. So I don't know if you're just going to, you know, maybe mention a ham and bean supper that may be happening in Tiverton, but I don't know. Ham but I just, that's what we do in Situate. We have ham and bean suppers. But I just caution you that this is really not a proper, unless you, I guess, proceed at your own risk, but I would advise that you not really mention anything substantive at this point. And I would actually, I'm going to send the council a memo on this. To the extent that in the future you do want to talk about specific things, you really need to list it on the agenda.
Like as an agenda item.
As an agenda item, so that you'll be able to talk about it.
So if you wanted to congratulate the high school team for winning the championship, you'd have to put it on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean that's extreme, but that's kind of generally what it says. I don't think anyone would file a complaint. I would hope that no one would file a complaint against the town council for you know, making that announcement, but I just advise, my job is to make sure you don't break the law, and I'm just telling you.
But ham and bean suppers we can do.
No, not even that, really.
No, that has to be on.
But anyway, so that's what, I just warn you, that's all.
All right.
All right, I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
I think, let me clarify one thing. You don't have to put on an agenda request for an item. You can do it sort of the way that you did this, where it says Town Solicitor Katz v. Town of Tiverton APRA complaint. So if it's not a big thing, you can just list it under this your name and this town councilor, other items, comments, right? If it's just a
Correct.
small,
Yeah,
if it's
we
an
just have to
announcement
list
or.
it.
You gotta list it. You gotta give, so the standard is you've gotta give the public a reasonable opportunity to know what you're going to discuss.
Okay.
But no-
Or mention.
But no action can be taken on those items.
Correct. Unless it says vote on it. But generally, it's generally just an opportunity for you to discuss, you know, there's a 5K race next week that I'm gonna participate in, please go out and support it. Or the library's having a cookie sale or something like that. So it's just, the standard, the law says you have to give public a reasonable opportunity to know what you're gonna discuss. Because under here, if I were to start discussing, I don't know, technically under this, you could discuss an item that may be interest to the public, maybe the upcoming tax sale or something. And the public would have no idea that you intend to, what you're gonna say. So you have to give people advance notice as to what you're gonna say.
Would you fill out an agenda request?
You could, but I think if it's just a simple thing
Just
about,
tell
you know,
Nancy.
just tell Nance, and she'll put it on, the clerk calls me and says, you got anything to report, and I put the open meeting complaint, so that's how we're gonna, so I will send you a memo outlining this, but that's the best way to do it.
Sounds good.
And most town councils, to be honest with you, have taken this off the agenda. No comment unless you,
One in the
Put it on the
agenda.
let's put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I mean, if that's the
That's the
way,
law.
if that's the way the law is being interpreted now, we'll have to follow it. In that case, it is now time for us to go into closed executive session. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to go into closed executive session, Council President Hilton, 42465A1, Town Administrator Performance Evaluation, notice given.
Second, yes? Yes? Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed executive session, Town Administrator 42465A2, collective bargaining, Teamsters proposed 3-year contract with Teamsters July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2022.
Second, yes? Yes.
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 We're now in closed
Council
executive.
President, before you go to closed session, I want to just put on the record that the town administrator was given notice of the meeting and the ability to request that it was be held in open session. I did speak to him this afternoon. He did not request that it be an open session, so we're going to proceed in closed session.
Thank you.